It's time for a death match between two Nikon FX camera bodies, the D800 and the D600. Intern Raymond and I took a trip to the Grand Canyon and headed out on a hike with these two for a Snowtown showdown. The D800 is Nikon's highest resolution camera and is designed to give portrait and studio photographers the ultimate in quality and flexibility. The 36 megapixel resolution of the D800 screams for sharp prime lenses. At the Grand Canyon, wider is better, so I used the 24mm f2.8D lens, an oldie but a goodie. The D600 is Nikon's advanced amateur FX DSLR. It is made for all-around shooting with few limitations. In this death match, I used the D600 with its 24-85 kit lens. It's a popular lens for the body, so it seemed like the right thing to do. Before we begin, let's talk about some ground rules. There's only one. It's the same rule in all of my death matches, and that is, I make the rules. My conclusions might not be agreeable to you, but that's okay. This is my death match, my rules, and my opinions. Now, let's get this party started. Sensor size and resolution. Both of these are FX bodies, which means that they contain full-frame sensors. The D800 has the Big Daddy sensor, 36.3 megapixels. But the D600 sensor is nothing to sniff at. It has 24.3 megapixels. Like other Nikon FX bodies, you can choose to use only a portion of the sensor, 15.3 megapixels for the D800 and 10.5 megapixels for the D600. In other words, if you move to either of these cameras from a DX body and you have DX lenses, it's not the end of the world. These are still capable resolutions if you'd like to continue using those DX lenses. D800. In FX mode, it's just a megapixel monster. You can't currently buy a DSLR with more pixels. Ease of use. The D600 caters more to people who have come up through the D70, 80, 90, D7000 line. The D800 works more like the D3, D4 series. If you had a D200 even, you would find the D800 easier to use. I have to mention the D600's user settings here. It has these two user configurable settings on the mode dial. Here you can set many of the menu items in a group so that when you click over to either U1 or U2, your camera remembers them and switches over. The D800 doesn't have user settings, but it makes up for it with its plentiful buttons and dials, many of which are configurable. In fact, you can configure most buttons and dials in a number of different ways so that your camera works conveniently for you. Both of these cameras are easy to use. There isn't any one thing that annoys me about either one of them. Tie, size, and ergonomics. Both of these cameras have some heft. The D800 is slightly larger and heavier than the D600, making it a little better balanced with larger lenses. Both have the newer Nikon focusing controls, the button and switch on the front of the body. Both have good weatherproofing. The D600 has a magnesium alloy top and rear cover, while the D800 is all magnesium alloy, except for the flash housing. This makes the D800 more weatherproof. That being said, if you're doing things where that's going to make a difference, you're going to break your camera. And even if you don't break your camera, your lens may not be so well off. Tie. Performance in low light. Simply looking at the specifications, the D800 gets the edge on autofocusing in low light. It has autofocus sensitivity down to -2 EV, while the D600 only has sensitivity down to -1 EV. But what you really want to know about is image quality. We're going to go to some LEGO Studio shots for this one. I used the 50mm f1.8 lens on both cameras for this test. I took 3 shots with each, one at 3200, one at 6400, and one at the highest either camera will go, high 2. Not surprisingly, each performed spectacularly at ISO 3200. Moving up to ISO 6400, both cameras show some grain, but it is definitely workable, especially considering that you may not have been able to get the shot otherwise. As expected, there is significant noise when looking at the highest ISO setting, high 2. That being said, even these photos are workable. It's a tie. It was laughable, actually, how similarly awesome they each performed at high ISO. Shooting fast action. The D600 can shoot at 5.5 frames per second, while the D800 can shoot 4 frames per second. Wah wah. You can make the D800 faster with a grip and shooting in cropped sensor mode. Both cameras are quick on the draw when it comes to focusing, though. D600. It's a bit faster. Autofocus. The D800 has lots of autofocus points, 51, and 15 of them are cross-type. The D600 has 39 autofocus points, 9 of which are cross-type. Now, 51 points is a lot, but so is 39. There comes a certain point when you just have enough autofocus points. The difference between 39 and 51 isn't so great, so this isn't really a make or break topic for me. However, how those points are distributed does make a big difference. The D800 has autofocus points spread across the frame. The D600, on the other hand, has the points grouped together towards the middle of the frame. This means that you have to focus and recompose if you want to focus on something towards the edge of the frame. That being said, I don't think it has actually cost me any shots. D800. The spread of autofocus points across the frame on the D800 pushes it ahead of the D600 in this category. Video. Both cameras shoot video in HD, 1080p at 30 frames per second. You have the option to autofocus during video, though it's loud and stupid. It just is. I don't really like DSLRs for casual video. You can change your aperture during video mode using the preview button and the function button on the D800, which is pretty handy. On the D600, you don't have that option. Result, video on DSLRs is not a big deal to me, so this category is a tie. Special features. I have to mention the D600's user settings again. You can easily change many of the settings and characteristics on the camera. The D800 takes a compact flash card and an SD card, while the D600 takes 2 SD cards. For me, this really doesn't matter. For you, this may be important. You can actually get faster speeds out of the faster compact flash cards, so you can clear the buffer faster. The D800 has USB 3, while the D600 has USB 2. This allows you to move images to a computer faster, whether you're transferring images at the end of a shoot or shooting tethered. Especially with the large file sizes the D800 can produce, the added speed here may be important to you. To me, not so much. The card slots and the USB data interface aren't deciding factors for me, so the D600 takes this category with its user settings. Cost. The D800 body is currently $2,800. The D600 body is currently $2,000. Incidentally, you can purchase the D600 in a kit with the 24 to 85mm lens for $2,500. Tie. When I'm considering spending a few $1,000s, the $800 difference between bodies isn't so important for me. Remember though that I make my money off my camera, so I'm flexible in what I'm willing to spend. That difference may be the deciding factor for you. Who wins? Well, it's a tie. And frankly, it's a good thing, because the D600 isn't mine, and I don't think Raymond would appreciate me destroying it. And I use my D800 a lot. Let's talk for a moment about how your deathmatch may have been different. They're so close in capability, I'd be hard-pressed to imagine a situation where you could get a shot with one of these cameras, but not with the other. If you're looking to save money, the D600 may be the one for you. If you want the increased durability and the highest resolution currently available, go for the D800. The fact of the matter is, they're both great bodies. If you want to see my full or short reviews of either of these cameras, follow these links.